Welcome, friends. Before we do anything else today, let's begin with something I like to call a joy check in. Wherever you are, just pause for a moment. On a scale from 1 to 10, how full does your heart feel today? No judgment, no fixing, just notice. I'll give you a few seconds to check in with yourself. And now I'm going to invite my guest, who I'm going to introduce in just a moment, to share too. So, Dr. Newman, on a scale from 1 to 10, how is your heart today?
Um, I feel like I want to say it's between a 7 or an 8 right now.
Okay. All right. That's pretty good. Pretty
Yeah,
full. Pretty
yeah,
full.
pretty cool.
Yeah. I would say I'm about between an 8 and a 9 today. And it's because I'm doing this. Like we're
Yeah.
on this and we're recording this podcast, and it's a big deal for me to take a step in this
Hmm.
direction. And I'm grateful that you're here with me. So I'm feeling
Yeah.
really full about this moment in particular. Yeah.
Hmm.
So thank you for doing that with us. Awareness is a powerful step, and quite honestly, the first step towards joy and cultivating joy. So let's just take a moment to breathe together before we move on. Inhale
Okay.
slowly and release. One more time, in and out. Just reminding ourselves that in this moment, you are seen and you are held. So, welcome to Held with Joy. This is a
Thank
space
you.
where we talk about faith, we talk about mental health, we talk about well being, and everyday practices that help us live with courage and compassion. I'm your host, Kelly Holder, and my heart behind this podcast is simple: just to remind folks that joy is always available, even when life feels heavy. So, today's conversation is extra special to me and very meaningful because I'm joined by my dear friend of more than 30 years.
Wow. Yeah.
I know. Am I even allowed to say that out loud?
Hey, it feels good. Maybe my 7 to 8 moved to 8 or a 9 just now, after the breathing.
After the breathing, oh, good. So I'm
Hmm.
glad that it helped. So, Dr. Tamara Newman is a compassion administrator whose leadership is rooted in service, structure, and a deep respect for family. She is dedicated to creating environments where people feel supported, valued, and treated with dignity, the same way that she cared for her own mother. She is the CEO of Thriving. Tell me the name of it.
It's Family First Haven.
Family First Haven. I don't know why I
Yeah.
had thriving in my mind. Anyway, so she brings together scientific training, organizational leadership, and strategic business expertise. She earned her doctorate in organizational change and leadership from the University of Southern California and is focused on building systems that truly work for people and ensure consistent, high quality care. That was a mouthful. I just said all those things.
Yeah, I feel fancy. You made me feel fancy.
Well, you are fancy. If no one's told you, you are extra fancy. And it's pretty cool to have such fancy friends. You know what I'm saying? Well, we're going to jump into it because we have some pretty serious questions and things we want to talk about together. We've been friends for a very long time and we've walked through many seasons of life together. So when you look back now, how do you see God weaving faith, struggle, healing, and joy into your story in particular?
Yeah, it's I I tell myself I've come a long way. Um I think it's an ongoing sort of reminding myself to let go and let God, but I think that that has just been one of the most meaningful lessons that I just sort of relearn in different situations, that I have to remind myself that I need to wait on God. Don't get in your own way. Don't overthink. Don't replay, situations of what I should have done or what about this? Let's try. Sometimes as a fixer or strategic thinker, you can just kind of go down that rabbit hole, trying to make things better. And you think that this is a way of even like protecting yourself,
Yeah.
preventing certain things. So I have a very simple affirmation that helps me to remember. And it's just, I've done my part. God will handle the rest.
I
So
love
it just
that.
sort of frees me to say, I did do everything that I could think of, and now it's in God's hands. So it just kind of frees me, and really allows me to let it go.
Yeah.
And it positions my mind to say that the how belongs to God, not me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sitting there thinking and trying to, come up with, well, I should try this, maybe not, no.
Yeah.
The how
I,
belongs to God. So, you said something recently on one of your social media posts. You said, it takes courage to choose joy.
yeah.
And for me, it struck me that day because, I was having a tough day of overthinking. And I was like releasing control and stopping this mental replay. It's so brave. It really is brave
It is
because,
brave.
control feels safe,
Mm-hmm.
but it's an illusion. Like,
Yeah.
I can't control anything. But surrendering is like that trust fall when, back in the day in school and you're like, oh, catch me. And you've seen somebody get dropped.
Yeah.
But it's just choosing joy in the middle of that trust fall and just not worrying about it, saying I've done everything I'm supposed to do. All right, God, it's yours. So I feel like that's the lesson that I try to stick, and I say that I have to keep doing it because, every situation is different.
Yeah.
And so it's like
Yeah.
reminding yourself, okay, this is another let go, let God.
Yeah. I love
So,
that. I love that. There's a lot of faith components in there, you know. Learning to trust God is it's a big thing when we learn how to do
mhm,
that. And we have a lot of science to back up this idea around rumination and holding
mhm,
on to things and rehearsing them over and over again, that it doesn't do for us what we believe that it does. And so being able to have an affirmation like that frees you up so that
mhm.
you can choose things that are more adaptive and more helpful to your long-term well-being.
Yeah.
Which at this moment gives me the moment to share. I want you to see my t-shirt I'm wearing today.
Okay.
It
I like that.
says joy is the
It's the
revolution.
revolution,
Joy
right?
is the yeah,
Revolution.
revolution. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think there's something to that.
I think so.
I think there's something to that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your work a little bit.
Okay.
Caring for your mom has shaped a lot of who you are, and it has
Yeah.
impacted the work that you do now. How did that
Mhm.
experience deepen your calling to serve families and seniors with the dignity and all the respect in the way that you do
Mhm.
it?
Yeah, growing up, I watched my mom. She was just a great principal. She was always my school principal everywhere I went. I don't know how she worked that out, but um, I watched her. For example, there was a family and the kids weren't coming to school. And she found out it's because the mom was out of town and all the clothes were dirty. So she went, loaded up the car with all of their clothes, washed them so they can come to school the next day. So I'm watching different things like that,
Yeah.
growing up. But now I'm in the position to care for
Mm-hmm.
someone who I saw care so much. And it was, I wasn't sure if I was like, can I do all of that? Like you did it so gracefully.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really like I had to step into that fear and like fight for her
Mm.
because she just didn't have the strength, and watching her um sort of like in her mind she was losing, the ability to do things
Okay.
as, watching herself being not able to do certain things. And so seeing that, firsthand, caring for her, tears because she couldn't just sign her name
Mm.
on something because it was just shaking so much. I really understood what it means to help someone feel respect
Mm.
and to, rediscover a new way to be independent so that they can feel, their value and their dignity.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has to be redefined.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to look different, but you haven't lost it, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
So, but in her mind, she just felt like I was losing all these things. And so, but I realized that's part one. So in hindsight, really looking back, so it took, when you lose someone, can take years
Yeah.
to really just say, okay, I've gone through every stage of grief and have accepted this thing. And so losing her, I learned that I didn't lose that battle, that,
Mm-hmm.
the fight was never about preventing her death. It was about the way that I showed up. I had to fight
Wow.
to show up so that I could fight for her. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And so, now during some of my, hardest moments in life, whether it was a difficult job I was at or, something I was working on, I started setting alarms, be 1 in the morning, maybe midday, if I know it's going to be at this tough day.
Right.
And it's just an alarm on my phone will go off and say, what would mom do? How would she, how would I show up in this moment? And it just kind of recentered me
Yeah.
back to, what I had to do as a caregiver, and reminding myself, okay, now I need to redefine where I think I am and how I can find independence in this situation and how I can, allow God to take over the how or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel like I learned those two lessons and it has just shaped the way that I think about um, showing up for someone. And then when the result is not what I would have wanted, my mom's not going to live for, forever. So, but understanding what to do with that afterwards.
Yeah.
And for me, that carries me through a lot of like tough situations.
That's so powerful. I mean, what you experienced was not easy by any stretch of the imagination, and yet you gain these newer skills that
Hmm.
have carried you into other different kinds of challenges and being able to, support yourself through it and find strength through it and use your faith through it.
Yeah. It's a journey and I just think the core of it is really trust. It really
Mm-hmm.
is. It's just trusting that, like I said, I've done my part.
Yeah,
It's on God.
it's on God. Well, you probably answered my next question because it really is, with the life that you've lived and the emotionally demanding work that you do. I was going to
Hmm.
ask about the practices that help you stay spiritually, mentally, and emotionally grounded. And so you've started with
Hmm.
trust, but maybe you can unpack that just a little bit. Maybe there's, outside of the affirmation that you use, other
Hmm.
things that you do that help demonstrate your trust or live that out. What does it look like for you?
Yeah. It's really part of it is what we did in the beginning, those deep breaths and
Mm-hmm.
just saying, okay, what's happening right now?
Mm-hmm.
Am I in a let go, let God moment? Or, I just need to like put my big girl pants on and, walk through this. Where am I at? Is this, have I done my part?
Yeah.
Am I done doing my part? And just figuring out really where I am in the process. And then making that, brave decision to let it go. But it's really just slowing down, um, taking it in and seeing, okay, what's happening? Where am I?
Yeah.
And then, talking myself through what I need to do next. And I just think that's a daily thing that you have to do to make it through those tough days.
Yeah. And I like how you said it's a daily thing, but it could happen moment by moment. You get through one
Hmm.
moment, and then
Yeah,
another moment you might need that breath again and asking, is this a let go, let God moment? What do I
yeah,
need most next right now? And
right.
starting again.
And, recognizing that each situation is different, each person that needs to be cared for is different.
Yeah,
And, relationship is important. Trying to learn as much as you can is important because you only know what you know, but you have to like put in the work to know something.
yeah,
So, showing up will look different. And I think that's why it's important to pause, breathe, and say, okay, where am I? Am I
yeah,
at I need to learn some more about what's happening? Did I talk to all the experts to make sure that we're clear on what the next step should be? Have I done my part?
yeah. Yeah, I like what you just explained because I think that can be a practical tool folks can use of just taking those steps, taking that step one to pause, to breathe. And the breathing really helps because when we're anxious or uncertain or just really agitated about something, we feel it in our bodies first. And when we feel it in our bodies, it interrupts our
Hmm.
thought processes in our
Yeah.
mind. And so it's hard to think clearly when you're anxious and you're
Yeah.
upset. And so being able to pause and take that breath gives us that
Mhm.
chance to get that moment so that we can then go into the thought mode of, okay, what is needed right now? Do I need to
Right.
ask more questions? Do I need more help? Is there more research that needs to be done? Or
Hmm.
have I already exhausted everything and I have to let go of control now?
Right.
Yeah, it sounds really practical and
But
something that
it's
all of us
not
can
easy.
do. No,
Right.
it's not easy. That
No,
part.
you have to choose to do that, you
Yeah,
know.
because what's natural is to continue to ruminate or to run. We believe that if we move faster, we can outrun the
Hmm.
situation or outwork the situation.
Right.
We just create, at least I'll talk about myself,
Right.
I just create more other situations.
Right. And that can exhaust you,
Oh, yeah.
you know. And you can't lead when you're exhausted.
No,
So if you don't slow down and assess and really, develop a plan for what your part is, it's just it just won't work. It won't be sustainable.
you're right. You're right. Is there anything else you think our listeners should be take away, like practical things they can take away from our conversation today?
Um, I think loving people well isn't a feeling.
Mm,
It's
mm-hmm.
a structure.
Okay.
So, this plan where I said you have to do the research, so it shows up in, your policies that protect dignity, respect, and, create these consistent boundaries to prevent harm.
Yeah.
So, saying you love someone, giving them something to eat and helping them bathe or, go to the bathroom, that's a part of it. But it's really thinking, long term and saying, how can I make this structure steady? And how can I make this compassion feel more meaningful? Because when you have both structure and compassion, then you have something that people can trust.
Yeah.
And when you're caring for someone, they have to be able to trust you.
Yeah. Trust seems to be the theme of what we talked about. We started
Hmm.
out by letting go, trusting God. We start talking about trusting our ability to slow down enough and then trust God with things. But also, when we are caring for others, it is our duty to establish trust with the people
Right.
that we care for. And that's on us. We have to do that
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. It's people say, oh, well, trust is earned. And yeah, you gotta put in the work so someone can trust you.
Right.
They have a problem with that, but someone can start out and say, this person seems trustworthy,
Mm,
but you have to put in the work so that they feel like, okay, this is someone who's consistent. This is someone who's empathetic. This is someone who knows how to show up. This is someone who knows how to say, I'm sorry. Or
Right. Yeah.
whoops, man, okay, let's regroup. We got to do something different here. Someone who's transparent. And it takes all those things. So this trust is, oh, I know this person's going to advocate for me.
Yeah.
They're going to assure me, you know. Those are the things that honestly are part of my core philosophy.
Yeah. Well, it definitely shows. It shows in the way that you show up in the world, you show up in your work environment. These are things that I've witnessed. So, thank you so much. Thank you for being here and sharing all of those things with us today. We're going to wrap up our
Okay.
conversation.
Well, thanks for
Um,
the opportunity to share.
oh, you're so welcome. I'm so glad that you were here. Our conversation has reminded me in the beautiful way God calls us to care for one another, not just in big moments, but it's also in small moments, in everyday moments. You've also reminded us the importance of trust, our ability to trust God, let go and trust God once we've done what we can do. And also that joy isn't simply happiness, it's not easy. Joy can
Mhm.
be found in the presence of God, but also in hard and in beautiful and everyday moments and all the things in
Yeah.
between, right?
Mhm.
Today's conversation also reminded me that joy is not fragile, it's anchored in love, right? And we know that love, especially God's love, never fails. So thank you for holding this moment for all of us. You know, through it all, we're reminded that joy is always available in every season and every experience. It doesn't always come easily, it doesn't always
Mhm.
look the way we expect. Sometimes joy is quiet, sometimes it's strength, sometimes it's rest, sometimes it's just making it through the day, but it's there. And today, if you're listening and you're having trouble reaching it, if it feels far away or buried underneath everything you're carrying, please remember this: you are seen, you are valued, you matter, and you are held with joy. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And until next time, take gentle care of yourself, all right? Bye, everybody.